Welcome to Engine Adventures off-road review of the 2020 Volkswagen Atlas Cross Sport. We're just going to jump right into it, but this one does have the 4Motion all-wheel drive and the V6. So we'll see what she can do off-road. As you can imagine, this thing is not built for off-roading. It's got fairly large rims with small sidewall tires. You get a lot of road noise. Normally the goal is 20 miles an hour. I think around 15 is kind of the limit with this one. Even a lot slower in some other places. So it's just not designed for high-speed off-roading, but it'll get you there. If you're driving those forest roads and stuff that are pretty well maintained, you can cruise along just fine. It's when you get into the more rough and hammered roads that you have to go real slow, but you should still be able to get where you need to go if you've got a campsite or fishing hole or something in the backcountry.
Here in normal mode, we can see a bit of wheel spin, but nothing really excessive for this type of vehicle. All these vehicles will be a little less aggressive on braking than others with low range, and while the wheels do spin, it is able to transfer power and make this climb. Moving on, our next mode is the Eco mode, and this really didn't change the throttle too much. It made it just a tiny bit less sensitive, and it turns out I took a slightly easier line, but basically to get the same amount of wheel spin I had to give it more throttle. Same results in the end. Here in Sport mode, the throttle was more aggressive and required less throttle input, and still pretty similar results to the others. There's maybe a little bit higher wheel speed there just because the throttle is more aggressive, but really similar to the other ones. Snow mode is like economy mode, and again the throttle was like a little bit less aggressive, so it required more throttle, but the power transfer side to side still seems really similar between each mode. For the off-road mode, the throttle's kind of in between the normal mode and snow mode, so you have to be a little bit more aggressive with it to get the same amount of wheel spin, but you can also see how quickly it breaks the spinning wheels. It's a little more aggressive there.
One thing to note, so here's how you change through the drive modes. And snow mode, this is the regular normal mode, but you can also, when you're in normal in that regular mode, you can see this, probably not, but anyway, you touch the screen to go into the eco mode or sport mode. All right, there's the off-road mode, and then the custom off-road mode, which is basically the same as off-road, just gives you the option of changing your steering to sport and then a few of the other settings. But I don't see a traction control off button anywhere. So, I don't know. I haven't been able to find it. If you know where it is, comment down below. But for all of our testing, we're just going to be testing with traction control on. When you're in off-road mode, the hill descent control automatically comes on. So as I roll backwards down this hill, it's already braking for me, keeping it at about 1 to 2 miles an hour. And it makes it easy to focus on everything else. Not worrying as much about braking. It did sometimes not engage when I thought it would, and engaged when I didn't think it would. Just takes some getting used to and maybe figuring out the system a bit, but it works quite well. Of course, we're in reverse right now, but it works going forward and backward.
So I've made a lot of comments about me needing to fix the hill. There's just one really rough spot here that I had to clear up to make sure the Atlas didn't bottom out. So I'm trying the hard line here, and down below the hard line's not as steep still, but it's got these ruts now, and you can see the Atlas has to kind of work through this. Even down at the bottom end of the hill, it's got to work through, transfer power side to side. It stops the momentum, which of course I'm trying to do this hill as slow as I can, but ultimately without carrying a lot of momentum through, it's just not able to make this climb in normal mode. I decided to go straight to sport mode, and the reason is in sport mode it kind of turns off traction control. It doesn't actually say that, but it gives you more freedom and liberty with the engine power being applied. So you can see the wheels spinning quite a bit more, and this allows more torque to be transferred to the wheels because the engine's in a higher RPM range, and it's able to actually make it up the hard line. I was really impressed that it did it. It took a lot of work, but it was able to make it. Now we're in off-road mode, and off-road mode is almost the opposite of sport mode. So it really quickly breaks the spinning wheels and tries to transfer power side to side. So you can see the wheels are still spinning, but even in this spot, I was able to make it past that in normal mode. The off-road mode is just too aggressive on the braking. During this little delay here, I'm shifting it into sport mode, and then we'll try it in sport mode, and I will go full throttle here, just giving it everything it's got, hoping to make it up this, and eventually it does. It's actually doing pretty well in sport mode, and I know it's going to make it up the hill, so I'm going to stop and then move the camera so we can get video of it cresting the hill.
It just gave me a warning that the hill was too steep to use the parking brake. It still applied it and held the vehicle, but I backed down a little bit to the point where it said, actually, you're okay now. Let's go ahead and get the brake over angle.
So I want to talk about the best mode for off-roading, and if you're doing something really aggressive and steep like this, then sport mode is the best. But if you're on something a little less aggressive, go ahead and use the off-road mode, and it will break the spinning wheels sooner, help you get through it with less drama. Here underneath, you can see it's all kind of compact and tightly in there, but really not any protection apart from a few plastic pieces. Even like the fuel tank is really low and not covered. It's just not really designed for off-road use.
Thank you for watching Engine Adventure's off-road review of the 2020 Volkswagen Atlas Cross Sport. Really did surprisingly well making it up the hard line. Took a lot of work, and oddly enough, sport mode is better than off-road mode when you're climbing a really steep grade, because it allows the wheels to slip a little bit more before it applies the brakes, transferring power side to side. Keeps you up in the higher power and torque range, whereas off-road mode gets a little more aggressive on the braking, which is fine if you're getting your axles crossed up while on flat ground or a small hill, but once you get to a really steep hill, it can't do it. So anyway, really not a bad vehicle overall. I'm not a huge fan of Volkswagens, but I like the way this one looks. The really wide low stance makes it look sporty and aggressive, but if I were to choose, I typically go with practicality, so I would get the regular Atlas. Again, it drives great, handles well on-road. The all-wheel drive system should work great for all weather, and for mild to medium off-roading. Be a little worried about the undercarriage, as there's not a lot of protection there and the body's pretty low. But anyway, if you liked what you saw, hit subscribe. Ring the bell so you get notifications when we post new videos. Give me a thumbs up if you liked it. If you didn't like it and you give me a thumbs down, be sure to comment down below and let me know why. Can't improve if you don't let me know what you didn't like. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.